For some people, the Isle of Man is one of the most exotic destinations you'll ever find around the world. But for speed enthusiasts, this island is the symbol of one of, if not the deadliest and most adrenaline-inducing event you've ever heard of. For over 100 years, this small British dependency has been home to the Isle of Man TT, an event that defies logic, challenges mortality, and captures the raw essence of human daring. Funny enough, it all started with something as mundane as a racing ban. And to understand that, we need to also understand that the idea of racing is as old as the invention of machines. The moment humans discovered they could build something that moved, they wanted to push it to its absolute limit. And with that came the inevitable conflict between innovation and regulation. By 1904, after cars were up and running, the United Kingdom was wrestling with a growing problem. Cars were getting faster, races were getting more dangerous, and public safety became a serious concern. The solution? A blanket ban on road racing that would have killed the spirit of motorsport in any other place. But the Isle of Man wasn't any other place. This tiny island saw an opportunity where others saw a roadblock. Unable to race on mainland Britain, motorsport enthusiasts found a loophole in this unique British dependency. First, they tried with cars. Here, you'd find the latest roaring machines tearing through public roads, challenging the very concept of speed and safety. Then came the motorcycles. In 1907, the Autocycle Union stepped in, and something exciting happened. They established a race that would become legendary, the Tourist Trophy, or TT, to make things simpler. Why Tourist Trophy? Because the winner quite literally got a trophy. And the story goes that the entire concept was born over a dinner conversation. That's right. A race that would become the most dangerous motorsport event in the world was conceived between courses and over glasses of wine. The rules were straightforward but brutal. Motorcycles had to be road legal. The course wasn't a neat, controlled circuit. It was the actual unforgiving roads of the Isle of Man. Village streets, mountain paths, with stone walls, inches from racing lines, and deadly drops waiting at every turn. This concept gained traction, and 1907 saw the rise of two different classes of touring motorcycles. The first winner was Charles Collier. He competed in the single-cylinder class with a matchless, and won by completing the 10-lap race in just 4 hours, 8 minutes, and 8 seconds at an average race speed of 38.21 miles per hour. Quite slow compared to present-day records, but back then, those numbers were wild. Meanwhile, the winner of the twin-cylinder class was a man named Rem Fowler, who rode a Norton at an average race speed of 36.21 miles per hour. In the 1910s, the race was still finding its feet. Scouts first assisted in races in 1910, adding a layer of safety to what was essentially a wild, untamed competition. The mountain circuit saw its first motorcycle race in 1911, and the Autocycle Union took the reins of the organization. By 1913, the race had become political enough that suffragettes protested by littering the course with glass, a far cry from today's carefully managed events. Team colors made their debut that same year, adding a splash of identity to the riders. The world changed, and so did the TT. When World War I erupted, the race paused. But in 1920, on June 15th, the engines roared back to life. The 1920s were a decade of transformation. Roads improved, machines got faster, and the definition of speed was constantly rewritten. In 1923, Stanley Woods claimed his first win. a name that would echo through the halls of racing history. That same year, sidecars joined the madness, adding another layer of complexity to an already challenging race. By the 1930s, the TT had become a show of human and mechanical limits. Jimmy Simpson became a legend, recording the first 60-mile-per-hour lap in 1924, then pushing that boundary to 70 miles per hour by 1926, and finally breaking 80 miles per hour in 1932. The event was becoming so popular that even royalty took notice. Prince George, the future king, became the first royal to visit the event. The Manx government started providing cash grants, recognizing the race's growing importance. But the world kept changing as fast as the races themselves, and when World War II hit, the TT faced a brutal interruption, falling silent from 1940 to 1946. But in 1947, the engines roared back to life, proving that no war could permanently silence the spirit of the race. The 1950s marked a golden era. Jeff Duke became a household name, winning his first TT in 1950 with a lap record of 93.33 miles per hour. Italian manufacturers began to dominate, bringing European flair to the competition. In 1955, Duke broke the 100-mile-per-hour barrier, though officially recorded at 99.97 miles per hour. It was a moment that would be etched in racing folklore. John Surtees won the senior TT on an MV Augusta, and in 1957, Bob McIntyre became the first rider to officially record a 100-mile-per-hour lap. Then came Mike Hailwood, a name synonymous with the TT. His first appearance in 1958 was just a glimpse of the legend he would become. In 1961, he achieved the impossible 3 wins in a single week, the first ever hat trick. With British and Italian manufacturers already in the race, the Japanese were now ready to come in, with Honda making its debut that year, globalizing the race in ways no one could have imagined. Then, the 1960s were a decade of intense rivalry and technological innovation. The 1967 Diamond Jubilee TT saw an epic battle between Giacomo Agostini and Mike Hailwood, with Hailwood becoming the first to win 4 races in a row. By 1968, even 125cc bikes were breaking the 100-mile-per-hour barrier. It was a relentless pursuit of speed. The 1970s introduced a new generation of racing heroes. Joey Dunlop made his first appearance in 1976, though it would take time for him to become the legendary figure we know today. The one thing that was evident by 1972 was that the cost of speed had become brutally clear. 100 riders had already lost their lives to the TT. However, none of those things stopped people from competing. Mick Grant set a new lap record in 1975 at 109.8 miles per hour, right before the Isle of Man TT hosted its last Grand Prix in 1976. In 1978, Mike Hailwood made a remarkable comeback, winning with a new lap and race record, his 13th win on the course. Then, by the 1980s, Joey Dunlop was finally ready to step into the spotlight. He dominated the decade with 12 victories, becoming a living legend. By 1989, the race had evolved. The first 120-mile-per-hour record was set, transforming the TT into something more than just a race. It was becoming a specialist discipline that demanded superhuman skill. The 1990s saw continued evolution and tragedy. Carl Fogarty raised the senior lap record to 123.61 miles per hour in 1992, but the human cost was mounting. By the decade's end, 165 riders had lost their lives to the TT. Authorities began serious discussions about risk management, though the spirit of the race remained unchanged. As the millennium turned, the TT was already a symbol of human endurance, and Joey Dunlop, at 48, had made a name for himself. Sadly, he lost his life during a race in Estonia in July 2000. Thousands of people attended the funeral while the world began to ask, who would be the next legend? The answer was just around the corner. The new century arrived with a fresh breed of daredevils, some carrying the legendary Dunlop DNA in their veins. David Jeffries, DJ, emerged as a force to be reckoned with, winning 3 races in 2000 and setting a new lap record at 125.69 miles per hour. Despite a global foot-and-mouth disease outbreak silencing the 2001 races, the spirit of the TT couldn't be contained for long. Jeffries continued his dominance in 2002, winning 3 races for the 3rd successive time.
Now, what's all this shouting? We'll have no trouble here.
But then came a gut-wrenching moment in 2003 when Adrian Archibald won the senior race after Jeffries, his teammate, crashed and passed while practicing for the TT. It was a stark reminder of the race's brutal nature. Then, John McGuinness became the new name etched in TT folklore. In 2004, he secured his first hat-trick of wins.
And came back after a 15-year absence, so we might be.
And by 2006, he was pushing the boundaries with a 129.4 miles per hour lap and his 11th TT victory. The following year, he set a lap record of 130.354 miles per hour, joining Dave Molyneux with 13 wins in the sidecar category.
To look ahead to TT 2007, the centenary year, which organisers...
2008 saw an epic battle with Australian Cameron Donald winning the Superbike and Superstock. But McGuinness fought back to win the senior and match Mike Halewood's record of 14 outright wins.
In his life, but having finally made it to the top step of the podium...
By 2009, McGuinness had moved ahead of Halewood with 15 wins, and at last, a new Dunlop name entered the winner's circle. Michael Dunlop claimed his first Supersport 2 race. The next generation of riders continued to push the limits. John McGuinness became the first to break the 130-mile-per-hour mark, accumulating an incredible 23 wins by 2015. New Zealand's Bruce Anstey claimed 12 wins, while Ian Hutchinson reached 16 victories. Meanwhile, Michael Dunlop emerged as a particularly poignant story, a rider who had lost family members to the very sport he continued to dominate, starting to rack up wins in 2009. Years later, Michael lost his brother William in 2018, but continued racing, embodying the unbreakable spirit of the TT, going on to win the race 29 times, despite the crashes and hurdles he found along the way. Today, many people wonder, who's the next legend? The race still goes on. One of the names that's starting to gain more recognition is Peter Hickman, a rider who represents the future of the TT. Back in 2014, during his debut year, he became the fastest ever newcomer at the TT, with an average lap speed of 129.104 miles per hour and a race average speed of 125.38 miles per hour. Glenn Irwin already passed this record in 2022, when he reached 129.85 miles per hour, but that didn't discourage Hickman from winning 3 TTs in 2019, 4 in 2022 and 2023, and a total of 14 victories as of today. Surely the future of the Isle of Man TT seems bright and promising. Looking back, the numbers are staggering. 269 people have died since the TT's inception, a number that would stop most competitions, but not this one. The Isle of Man TT continues to draw riders and spectators, which speaks volumes about the human spirit's unquenchable desire to test the absolute limits of speed, skill, and survival. What will the future hold? Only the road knows. The one thing we know is that as long as it exists, there will always be a place to witness the unbreakable spirit of humans who are not afraid of speed.